Hello everyone, my name is Vince Gelman. Thank you for joining me today. We are living in a great time of discernment, aren't we? Where we really do need to listen to our heart, where we have to trust our instincts, where we have to act courageously and do things that upset others, that make us uncomfortable, that make other people uncomfortable. To stand in our power, to stand true to ourselves. Standing out, as we know, is not necessarily about making other people happy. Fitting in makes people happy, and it can certainly make us more comfortable, but we're not here to settle in that way. We are not here simply to fit in. We are not here to conform. We're here to stand in our truth. We're here to stand in our power. And if that means being uncomfortable, and if that means making other people uncomfortable, then so be it. That's what leadership is about. That's what we need right now, is we need leaders who are willing to be different, to not fit in, who are willing to stand in the truth and the power and the light of their voice, of their soul, of their clarity of vision, and to do different sorts of things that lead us towards truth, that lead us towards liberation, instead of simply just complying and conforming. We have been molded to conform since day one. I mean, the school system, as you know, I like to talk about the school system. The school system is a factory of molding, of getting kids to conform. It creates a conformity mindset, an obedience mindset, a compliance mindset. And that mindset is really influencing so many today that make them bow to corrupt authority, that make them bow and serve tyranny. Question that I come to regularly is people who are serving tyranny right now, who are bought into the narrative, who are participating in it at different levels, whether they be law enforcement or journalists or medical practitioners or government officials. How aware are they? How aware are they of what they're doing and the consequences of their decisions? The law enforcement that stole baby W, as he's officially called, the 6-month-old in New Zealand, the law enforcement that took that child out of his parents' arms into custody of the state because that child needed a heart operation fast. And the parents did not want him having a blood transfusion that was toxic because of the jab, a jabbed blood transfusion. Those law enforcement that stole that baby and the legal officials that were involved in this and the government officials that were involved in this, how aware were they in their heart that something wasn't quite right? There's something not right here in me stealing this baby. Maybe these parents there's some truth in their concern. How much awareness is there in the border officer, the border patrol officer and I don't know what they're called, the people that work at the U.S. southern border? How much knowing is there in their heart? How aware are they that maybe something isn't quite right, that they're letting all these people in? Maybe they're allowing drug traffickers in. Maybe they're allowing children in, and those children are going to go straight to pedophiles' hands. They're allowing fentanyl to cross over, and that fentanyl is going to end up into a 19-year-old's hands. What about the journalist? How aware is that journalist that maybe that story that they're about to publish is serving tyranny, is serving corruption, and that they're doing it because tyranny sponsors them? Tyranny sponsors their media outlet. How aware are the doctors and the nurses that something isn't quite right. I saw a nurse speak recently, and she said that when she started working in a hospital, there was about one fetal demise every 2 to 3 months. But then after the rollout of the jab, it went to 20 a month. 20 fetal demises a month. And she said what really struck her, outside of the fact that there's all these deaths, is the response from the hospital staff, which was a response that was about, hey, we need to just change our protocol now to deal with more deaths. It wasn't, oh my God, let's get to the root of this. What could be causing this? Let's ask some hard questions. Let's look at some things that maybe are disturbing. Let's get in there and do some serious investigation. No, it was just like, okay, we need to change how we operate now to deal with more deaths. So the people who are just sort of blithely going along, hey, let's let all these people cross the border. Hey, we're a school board. Let's just let these drag queens come in and read story time to our little ones and twerk and grope and crawl. We're a library. Let's let this drag queen come in and twerk and grope and crawl to our little ones at story time at the library. Do they have something in them that says, wait a second, something isn't quite right? Something isn't quite right. There's something off. There's something wrong. Something is telling me that there might just be a dark agenda here. There might just be something nefarious here. Something doesn't feel right. Where is that feeling? That feeling is in the heart, isn't it? Truth is in the heart. Truth is in the heart. It's not here, it's here in the heart. So do these people hear a voice in their heart that says, stop, wait, pause, question, look, don't, report, stand out, speak out, leave, walk away, do something different? Do they have a voice within them that they hear? See, I feel like they do. Because these are good-hearted people for the most part. They're not the very troubled souls, the globalists whose hearts are so darkened. They're so emotionally void that they have absolutely no emotional consequence to their actions. There's no empathy. They're so blackened inside. The people, the law enforcement, the doctors, the nurses, the journalists, I still have faith that they're good-hearted people. They have a heart. They have children. They love their children. I believe in my heart that they're in their profession because they care about people. So they have heart. And if they have heart, that means they have intuition that speaks through their heart. But do they hear something in them that says, wait a second, something isn't quite right? So so here's the next question. If someone has a feeling in their heart that something isn't quite right, well, now they have a choice to turn to that feeling and look at it. But what is asked of someone? What is asked of someone who must turn to their heart? What is going to be asked of them? That's the key question. What is going to be asked of me if I go from denial to truth? If I go from ignorance to truth, what is asked of me? What might be asked of me? Well, number one, I'm going to have to feel something that's uncomfortable. For example, if I turn towards truth in my heart, a truth that says something's not quite right, I am going to have to feel some level of being disturbed. I'm going to have to feel disturbed a little bit, or a lot. I'm going to have to feel disturbed that maybe things aren't what I thought, and there are some dark intentions behind all this. That it's far less accidental, far less coincidental, that there's actually some serious intention behind this. I'm going to have to feel some level of being disturbed in that, and I'm going to likely come across fear. So I'm going to feel fear and disturbed. Do I want to feel fear and disturbed? No, people don't want to feel fear and disturbed. People generally don't want to feel that much. They want to stay in a comfort zone of everything's okay, everything is nice and normal, right? We're a people that just do all we can to avoid feeling uncomfortable, because that's how we survived as scared children. We had to adapt, and we had to survive by stuffing down our feelings. And we projected an image onto our parents who were harming us. We projected an image onto them that they're not so bad, even though dad was beating me and mom was neglecting me. They're not so bad. Because I needed to protect that image of them, because I needed to keep a positive image of them for my survival, because I'm an attachment-driven child. So I'm going to uphold an image of infallibility of my parents, because I need to protect the we. And it's a survival adaptation. So I'm going to have like a warped positivity that everything's okay, and it helps me manage the overwhelm in my system, the fear, the disgust, the anger that's in my system when my father's beating me and my mother's neglecting me. And so I have a warped positivity, and then without that being healed, we have that warped positivity later on in life, and we project that warped positivity on our so-called leaders, and we project warped positivity on various situations, all these people flooding into the United States. We project warped positivity on drag queens sexualizing our children. Hey, it's all okay. We're avoiding truth to avoid pain, because that's what we did when we were children. I'm going to avoid the truth that my parents are intentionally harming me, and that way I avoid the pain in my system. And I'm going to project an image of positivity on them, even though he is hitting me and she is neglecting me. And I'm going to project that same positivity on our so-called leaders, because they would never abuse us, would they? They would never abuse us. No, they'd never do that. So you see, what this does is that it creates a psychology that really is much more interested in ignorance than truth. It's not interested in reality, because reality hurts. If I take reality to heart, I'm going to have to feel disturbed. I'm going to have to feel fear. I'm going to have to feel shock, outrage, horror, grief. So it's just more convenient to stay in ignorance. So people have intuition. And these journalists, people working at the border, government officials, health practitioners, law enforcement, they have a feeling something isn't right. But how aware are they of it? And how much do they sense that there's fear there if they turn towards it? How much are they aware that they're turning away from truth? They're turning away from their intuition to continue to serve tyranny. And really, are they aware of the consequences of that? Really, are they aware of the consequences of that? So what is asked of me? What is going to be asked of me? What might be asked of me if I turn towards truth, if I turn towards the truth in my heart, if I turn towards my intuition? Well, I'm going to likely feel disturbed. I'm likely going to feel fear. But then I'm also going to come across uncertainty. Well, what now? Now that I feel something isn't quite right, like now what happens? What might I lose if I act on that intuition? Or what might I have to do? Which is two sides of the same coin, which I'll explain. What might I have to actually do that I know I can no longer not do because I now know, I sense something isn't right? So for instance, if I turn towards truth, and I investigate that truth, and I listen to my heart, and I can no longer deny my heart because I know children are suffering. I know children are being maimed. I know children are being sexualized and racialized, and people are dying. Excess deaths, excess stillborns, excess neonatal deaths, right? On and on and on and on. What might I have to do then, now that I know this? Well, maybe I might have to speak up. Maybe I might have to speak up at the next meeting. I might have to say, hey, something isn't quite right and I feel it, and I've done some research and here's some data. Maybe I might have to take a leadership role. How many incredibly brave nurses have we seen do that? How many brave doctors have we seen do that, right? Whistleblowers, they come out and they speak truth. It's not easy to do. So what might be asked of me is that I might have to do something. And when I have to do something, I'm faced with uncertainty. What's the consequence of me stepping out? Well, the consequence is I might lose my job if I speak up. If I no longer just simply comply, I might lose my job, or I might have to quit my job because I, in my heart integrity, cannot participate in this anymore. So now there's uncertainty because I can no longer participate. And I might have to quit my job. And what does that mean? Because I got little mouths at home to feed. And I rely on this income. And my wife or my husband who's at home, who's taking care of the kids, they're not working. And we don't have much of a nest egg. So how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to feed these little mouths? So that's obviously a real, reasonable, natural concern to have is what then if I leave the great unknown? But you see, this is part of our testing right now, is that we have found security, we have created security by being in codependency with dysfunction. We think of codependency, like a dysfunctional codependency, as within the context of a relationship, an intimate relationship with another. But truly what we're waking up to is that our democracy is not exactly a democracy. It hasn't been a democracy. Democratic values are freedom, equality, fairness, but we're waking up to how much we have been programmed and controlled by dark forces, how much the school system is an indoctrination system, how much of our tax dollars have been going towards nefarious things such as corrupt military conquests, regime changes. So here is one of the great tests of this time is, am I willing to no longer be in a codependent relationship with a dysfunctional system, a dysfunctional health system, a dysfunctional law enforcement system, a dysfunctional media outlet? Am I no longer willing For instance, if you're working in healthcare, am I no longer willing to serve sick care? The stakes are high right now. The consequences are high of our actions. See, our security has been built so much on codependency. Just like people find security in codependency in relationships, we have found security in codependency with dysfunctional institutions. Dysfunctional institutions that are rife with cover-ups. I think it was J. Krishnamurti who said something like this: it is no achievement to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. It is no achievement to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. This society is collapsing. And in its collapse, it is freeing us from this bondage. It's a trauma bond. This codependency with dysfunction. So this system is collapsing anyway, and the gift in that is that it's freeing people from this codependency. This false security that comes from being bonded to a system that has been so corrupted, so infiltrated by dark forces, because we know these dark forces have infiltrated health, media, law enforcement, banking, big pharma, big tech. We're waking up to this. So the question is this: do people have it in them to trust that they can walk away and they will be guided and supported to find exactly what they need? A miracle will show up. They give themselves to the space between. They let go of one thing and they give themselves to the space between, and in that emptiness something will come, some miracle, something will come to support them in their transition, and that they and their wife and their husband and their kids will not end up on the streets begging. Someone will come, and you see, it's a matter of how important your integrity is. It comes down to integrity, heart integrity. Integrity is not here, it's in the heart. Another name for integrity is self-respect. Another name for integrity is dignity. It's about being an upstanding citizen of goodness, of service. The stronger your integrity is, the more difficult it becomes to not take the risk, to walk away and step into the void, to step into the emptiness. You are willing to sacrifice, to take that bigger risk, because you can't serve tyranny. You can't contribute to the maiming of humanity and to the global genocide that is before us. You cannot contribute to that. Of course you cannot. And so you walk away. But you see, this is the thing about turning towards our heart. Got a plane above me. This is the thing about turning towards our heart. This is the thing about turning towards truth. Is that when we turn towards our heart, when we turn towards truth, we have to be willing to go down a courageous road. We have to be willing to go down a courageous road. We have to be willing to take risks, because we can no longer compromise. We can no longer hide out in ignorance. We can no longer play small. We can no longer participate in the game. We can no longer serve the dysfunctional game. Turning towards our heart takes courage. It demands sacrifice. And that's what these times are about. It's how willing are you to stand in your truth, in your integrity, in your self-respect, your dignity? How willing are you to take a risk, to step into the unknown, to embrace uncertainty, and find a new kind of security that is not bound by codependency with a corrupt system, a broken system, a dismantling system? How willing are you to feel the feelings that come with all this, the feelings of fear and being disturbed, of shock, of horror, of anger, of grief? How willing are you to feel more? Because if you're going to move towards truth, and if you're going to go more into uncertainty, if you're going to take these risks, if you're going to see reality for what it is and stop projecting a warped positivity, you are going to feel what you likely haven't felt your entire life. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? And what are the consequences of not doing that to you, to your family, to your community, to our children? And so integrity is in the heart. This is a time of heart. This is a time of deep listening. This is a time of courageous action. This is a time of not necessarily feeling good, but feeling more. So I will leave that with you there. Thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe, please click notifications, like, comment, all that jazz, and I will see you when I see you. Thank you. Bye.